Alright, so this is the page that we created in our last session, and if you see in the editor now, you have the option of viewing the Visualforce code as well as your Apex code, right? So in the same Visualforce code editor, you get to see your Apex code as well. Right, so this is what we have written. Select name type industry phone fax from account where industry equals energy. Right. Now you can keep on changing this, and you can make it education. See, only one account record from education. Okay, so we have a control now on what exactly we want to display, right? And the fields that you want to display basically have to be supplied here, like name, type, industry, phone, fax. That's how you'll have to put it here. Okay. So if you try to display using Visualforce, if you try to display something that you have not queried, it will not show that. So instead of fax, if I say annual revenue, see, row was retrieved, a subject row was retrieved by SQL without querying the field. So annual revenue was not queried. Okay, so whatever you are trying to display on the Visualforce, you might need to make sure that you have put it in the query field. All right. All right. Now let's go and create one more page. This time, okay, I gave you an assignment to do the same thing for opportunity. Were you guys able to do that? Even if you could not, that's fine, because I'm going to create an example with opportunity now. So that's absolutely okay. Okay, so before I get into opportunity, let me do one more example with account. So let's say something like a public class C5, and I want to display a list of accounts on my page, direct accounts. Select name, type, industry, phone, fax, from account where type equals customer direct. And I define one more variable here, which is customer channel. Okay, so there are two variables, so I will need two get methods, right? Two variables, two get methods required on the required to display the data of these variables in the page, correct? So what should I write? Can you help me write the get methods for both these variables? Anyone?
Public.
Public, okay.
List account.
List of account, okay.
Get direct X accounts. Direct underscore accounts.
Is it okay?
I think we should write two methods here.
Let us finish the first method first, and then we'll get into the
Okay,
second.
okay, okay.
So this first one is done. Is it okay?
And we should give the command return
Excellent. Return what?
direct underscore accounts.
Yeah. One more method. Someone else, not Manjit. Anyone else?
Uh,
Yeah, yeah. Two people can also speak. No problem.
Public list account, get direct channel.
Direct channel.
I mean, direct underscore.
Achha, okay. That's what I named it. Sorry, I should have named it something else. Maybe channel accounts. Okay. Channel. And doesn't make any difference basically, whatever you name it. But just that. Okay. Is it done? Or I need to put
Yeah,
a return?
return get whatever function name, get channel underscore A3S.
Not function name, variable name. Variable name, not the function name.
Oh yeah. So
What's the error? Someone please help sort it out.
account at line 10, column 1.
Spelling is wrong. Account spelling. ACC.
Very good. That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
We are good to go and create our Visualforce page now. Okay, so all that I have is I have two set of records. One set has all the accounts where the type is customer direct. Another set has all the accounts where the type is customer channel. Okay. Now in the Visualforce page, to display these two set of records, I need two different tables. Correct, right? So let's go and create our Visualforce page. V16 it will be. Okay. Let's create epic / V16. Controller. What will be the name of the controller?
Five.
C5, right? Correct. Then I need two different tables. That's what we understand. So let me create a page block first. Table 1 and table 2. Is that correct? So first table should have what value?
Uh,
Direct
Correct.
underscore accounts.
Excellent. Variable, this one Ajinkya will answer.
B.
What will be the name of the variable, Ajinkya? Table variable.
It can be anything, right?
Excellent.
A.
A, or it can be anything. I mean, usually we are used to putting A there, but it can be anything.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that's good. Value will be A dot name type industry phone and fax. Okay, what is the problem now?
Form
What is the error? Can you read the error and tell me?
Can I see line below?
16 line
No, line 16 you are reading, that's good. Try to read the error also.
at line 13. Com.
What is the meaning of the error?
Attribute is required for this at page block table, like
Yes.
direct account here. It's
Right. So a required attribute, a mandatory attribute is missing. That's what it says. Page block table has mandatory attributes value and variable. Those are missing. So I'll need to, for this page block table, I've created the page block table component without giving attribute. So the second one, it should be, the second one, what should be the value?
Current account, I believe. Okay.
Oh, sorry. In second page block table, what should be the value?
channel execute.
Channel account, sorry.
Channel
Channel
account.
underscore accounts.
Yeah. Okay. And apex column value.
Both the variables can be the same, is it, Jeet? For
This
both the.
variable can be same. You can
Oh,
make it
okay.
different also, but it can be same, right?
Okay.
Because see, this variable when defined here, it's getting terminated here, fine.
Mm-hmm.
So again, this is a different component. So you can actually define the same component. It can be the same one, but if you want, you can make it B also. Here it is. First page block table with all the customer direct accounts and the second page block table with all the customer channel accounts. Correct? Okay. Let me just create the same page. We have understood, right? So all that we have to do is we just have to create two different variables, and for both the variables we have created uh, tables. For each variable I have created a table. That's what we have done. So far it's okay. Now let me go ahead and create the same tables into tabs. Now the way it is being displayed is not that good. Okay. What I want is I want these to appear in two different tabs. Tab example we have already done. We'll just use the same logic. So just when I create one more Visualforce page, use the same controller. Controller I will not write. Controller C5 effects page block. Direct and channel tabs, and then here we say apex tab panel. Okay, and in the tab panel all that you have to do is we can do the switch type equals ajax, and then go ahead and create the tab. So first tab and second tab. First tab I will label it to direct accounts, and the second tab I will label it to channel accounts. Let me also increase the width of the tab, label width 300. Something I'll put here also. Okay, so two tabs I have created. Tab 1, tab 2, direct accounts, channel accounts. All that I have to do is I just have to go ahead and put the page block tables inside the tabs. Apex page block table value direct accounts.
Direct account.
Variable can be the same thing now. In case you missed in the previous example, just follow it now. Column value a dot name type in the string phone fax. Copy this entire stuff. You can copy the entire table, in fact. And you can copy the entire table. Yep. And only thing that you have to change here is the value. What value will be displayed? Fields and everything is same, right? So under the direct accounts tab, I have created a table which shows direct accounts, and under the channel accounts tab, I have created a table which shows the channel accounts. That's it. Let me increase the width a little more. That it almost covers the entire screen. Yeah. So see, now direct accounts, channel accounts. Okay, are we clear on this? So basically, this is how you can actually create uh, your custom controller pages, okay, and you can put these kind of logics. And it's so easy actually. See, you actually do not need to work almost anything on the Visualforce part. So someone who has done a bit of HTML or something would understand that doing these kind of things in HTML will require a lot of time, effort. You need to write a lot of code. But with Visualforce components, creating tabs, everything is so easy. All right. So in the Visualforce, or while we are actually coding in Salesforce, all that we need to do is just focus on the business logic, what needs to be displayed, and how do I actually fetch it. That's it. We don't need to spend too much of time in the look and feel and designing and all that stuff, right? So things are a lot simpler here. So that's the reason why it's not like any other programming, the traditional programming languages, where you get confused and all. And you must have realized that it's pretty easy to write things here. Okay. Now go by that business logic. Let's say my client actually wants me to display two lists or three lists. Okay, says that okay, I want to view these three lists, or if he wants to see a single list, it's absolutely okay. Creating a single list is just one page block table, absolutely fine. But if the client says that okay, I want to see the two or three different lists, then we have seen different ways. Either you can just create page block and create page block sections inside them. You can use that, create that using these tabs. So if it were like 5 tabs also, you could have easily created, right? Clear? Okay. Now the same example, the same thing I'll do using one more approach. So there are two different lists. One is of direct accounts, one is of channel accounts. We want to display these two different lists to the end users, but we will take a different approach for that. Okay, what is the different approach that we're going to take? So before that, we are okay on this, right? If you have any question or doubt here, please ask. Then I'll get into that. We are okay, right? Excellent. Now, if you are okay on this, all that we have to do is we just have to get into another approach. The second approach is, in this case, what I'm doing is I'm defining two different variables, okay, which means two different values or two different methods. Now, if two different methods are being created, then on the Visualforce you need two different components to accommodate them, correct? Because I have two variables, two functions. For each function, I need to create a component, which is the page block table. So I have two page block tables on the page. We have another approach of doing that, doing the same thing. Instead of two variables, we will just define one variable, but keep that variable dynamic. Okay. So the advantage that we will have is we will just need to create one table on the Visualforce page also. Okay, and the value in that table will keep on changing. So now what is happening, we are toggling from one table to the other table, the entire component is different, right? But we are going to do one more approach where only the values in the table keep on changing, the table remains the same. So we just manage the thing with one table. All right. So now it's okay because we are just using two tables. But just imagine, can you have the microphone mute, please?
So
Yeah. So now it's easy manageable because we just have two tables, so we have easily created. Now think about it, if you had like let's say 12 or 15 of these there, would you create 15 times tables like this in the markup? Becomes difficult, right? You can create, but that's not the best way of doing it. So rather you should have one table, and the data inside that should be done. How do we do that? Let's do one example. So we'll create another class. We call it C6, public class C6. Okay. This time I told you we will work with only one variable. So list of account ACTS, and I'll not assign any value to it. Okay, because this is going to be a dynamic variable. List of account define. I will also define a get method for it. Okay, so now if someone calls this function, what will he get in return? If I call this function, what will I get in return? What will be returned?
Account information, all accounts.
All accounts?
Yes.
Where did I say all accounts?
List accounts.
I
List
think
account does not mean
nothing
all
will be
account.
returned.
Nothing.
It's
It's
yeah.
none.
Actually, there's nothing in there.
Yeah. List account is just the data type. Does not mean all account. Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, it will return zero.
Hmm.
Nothing. No record. Okay. So that I am doing intentionally because initially I do not want to return any value. So let me just go and create a Visualforce page as well, and try to display this. Controller equals C6 apex page block apex page block table value variable a. Fine, it does not return anything. It's null. Okay. Now, what I need to do is I need to pass the value inside it because it's dynamic. So I have to have some mechanism of passing the value inside it. Initially, when the page loads for the first time, if you have something in the get method, whatever the get method is returning, that's returned. That's what we have seen in all the previous examples. The moment you load the page, you get the data. Now, the moment the page is getting loaded, it gets nothing because the variable by default does not have anything. What I have to do is I have to define some other method or function to pass the value inside this variable. Correct? Okay. So for that, what I will do is I'll create one more method, one more function. Okay. And this time I'm going to create a function with the return type page reference. I'm going to create a function with the return type page reference. Okay, what is this page reference return type? Page reference basically means a reference to a page. So you can return a page as a return type. Correct? So page reference, if you define a function and you define a reference to a page, that function will take you to that particular page. Okay. So how it is defined usually? It's defined as, let's say, public page reference p1, and you say return v1 then page.v1. Yeah, then it will take you to that particular page. So when you call this function, you will be directed to v1. That's what page reference does, right? You have another option of using
Can you
page.
please explain again? I didn't.
Okay, while you're on a page and while you're uh, working with these, page components, sometimes you will have you have a requirement to move to another page. You should be able to, go from one page to other page also, right?
Yeah.
So this page reference actually helps you to refer to a certain page and move to that page. Okay, so a page reference function can be defined to move to another page. All right. So if you write it like this, then calling this function will take you to this page. Return. We remove this. Return v1. So it will return v1 and take you to that v1. Okay. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. Now let's go and sorry. There's another option here. Instead of return v1, you can also say return null. What do you think this will do? Return v1 will take me to v1 page v1, which is another page. What do you think return null will do?
Doesn't return anything then.
It doesn't return
It
anything.
stays on the
What?
same page.
Yes. So then why should I write such a long story if I have to stay on the same page? It will stay on the same page, that's correct. But what do you think is the reason of doing this if I have to stay on the same page?
I don't know.
Think. If we have to stay on the page, same page, we don't have to call the function.
Yeah.
It will reload the page, re-render the page. It will, you know, basically
Yeah.
it will go do a page reference and come back to the same page. So basically what is happening, the page will get refreshed. Okay, now why do I need this kind of thing? In case I want to put some value to, initially the first time when the page is getting loaded, then this is null. Okay, if I want to pass some value into it, what I'll have to do is I'll have to reload the page. Correct?
Yeah, that's right.
That's
Yeah.
the logic. So what I have to do is I have to use this function to reload the same page. And in the meanwhile, while the reload is happening, we will quietly pass the value to the variable. So this time we are going to
I
use
didn't
page
get.
reference function. Sorry.
I didn't get clear picture of this. Why do we need to reload the page and then pass the value?
So how will you pass the value without reloading it? Page gets values when the page is loaded, right?
Yes.
So if you don't reload it, how will it get the values? That's the thing. Now the page is here. How will I pass the value into this? ACTS does not have value. Is there another way of putting value there? No. Correct? A refresh
To
has to
get the
happen,
latest
right?
data, right?
It's basically refreshing the data. So refreshing the data will happen when the page gets reloaded. Make sense?
Okay.
Otherwise, how will the refresh happen?
Mm,
Correct.
okay.
So that's the logic. The page is there, and if the page is static, when you perform a Google search, okay, fine. Let's put it like this: Google.com. You try to search something, California. Now this page is static. When I press enter, what happens? The page gets reloaded, then only it comes up with the result, right? Instead of California, now I want to pass some other value. I want to make it New York. Okay, when I press enter, the page gets reloaded, then only the data gets refreshed, right? Can I just say that, okay, I should write New York here and automatically it should get updated? That does not happen, right? So that's the basic logic behind that. How the page gets value. Now I press enter, the page gets reloaded. Now it comes up with the new result. right? So that's what I am also trying to do. Okay. Now it
So
makes
this
sense.
null is like,
Null is come back to the same page.
so this
Don't
null
go
is
anywhere.
reflecting our page.
Yeah. Null is basically return null means don't go anywhere else, come back to the same page. So which means refresh.
Yes.
Okay. So now what we are going to do is we will just write a small page reference method. Public page reference. Page reference method you don't have to, it's not a get method. Okay. So you can name it whatever. You don't have to start it with a get keyword. Page reference direct. Return null. Okay. So it will, when I call this function, it will return null. Basically, it will load the same page. But in the
Like,
meanwhile,
what is the that ACTS is doing? So,
getting the value of this variable.
okay. So it's
Right?
getting here.
And that has been used in the page block table.
Mhm.
All right. While this reload is happening, in the meanwhile, what I'll do is I will act very smart and I will silently supply the value to ACTS, which was initially null. In the meanwhile, when the reload is happening, we will smartly go and put this value to ACTS. Select, which was initially null. Here I am supplying the value before the return happens. Select name, type, industry, phone, fax, from account, here. Here is type, right? Type equals customer direct. All right. So when the page returns, initially the page does not have any value, it's null. First time the page gets loaded. But when this method is called, the page reloads, but while it returns, it comes up with this value. Got it? And the same way,
Could yeah, Jeet, sorry. Could you please? How would be the flow of the execution of this code? I mean, first it will
I'll
execute
talk
the.
about that. Right. Let's finish this example, then you will understand that.
Okay.
For the same way, I need one more page reference method. Public page reference channel return null, and here before the return null happens, I will just supply the value to ACTS. Okay. So I have three functions now. This first function has been called for getting the value in the table, correct? How do I call these two functions? Page reference function. To call a page reference function, you can use a command button or a command link. Okay. So let me just go and create the command buttons. But before I can use command buttons, I also need the form component, the fix form component. So in the command button, value can be anything. Uh, channel accounts. Action has to be the name of the method. Okay. So get method by default, gets loaded. But these page reference methods, you'll have to call them. Okay, the function. So the functions are associated to these buttons. If I click on channel accounts, it gets the value of channel accounts. So what is happening actually, when I click on channel accounts, it reloads the page, or basically it calls this action. What is this action doing? Assigns the value to ACTS, which was initially null. It assigns this value to this and returns the same page. Got it? If you call the direct accounts button, it shows you direct accounts, because that's the value I'm assigning here before the return happens to the same page. Fine. So earlier what I was doing, I was supplying the value directly to the variable, and the get method was automatically getting the values from the variable. Now initially the get method does not have any value, so initially it's null. But when this method direct or channel is called, it supplies, it puts the value into that variable, okay, and it returns the same page. Tell me if there is any difficulty understanding this. Clear?
Can you just show the Visualforce page?
Visualforce code. Okay.
Yeah.
Now I don't have two tables. I just have one table. The value inside the table is changing. Manjit, is it clear now? How is it actually getting executed?
So
Mhm.
we have created the buttons first time, right? So we never work with this page block buttons.
Which one?
Page block buttons.
It's command button. See, page block button is basically only the use of page block button is to display the button at the top and at the bottom. That's it. But it's a simple command button. The command button that we used for save, same command button. If you have any confusion with this, remove this. It's the same command button that we have used for save. In standard controller, you can use it with action like save because it's already defined. But while we are working with a custom controller, while we're working for a custom controller, then the actions for the button need to be defined by us. Okay, and this can be an action. A page reference can be an action. So that's it. That's it. Still works the same. Page block button is basically just to create the button at the top and at the bottom. That's it. So it just gives the look and feel. Action is happening only for the button, command button. That's it.
Jeet, one doubt I have is
Hmm.
even if we are not using that command button, would the page be rendered with this function?
But you'll have to render the page. No? You'll have to call the function somewhere, right? A get function automatically gets called when the page gets loaded. Okay.
Okay.
But this is page reference method will not be automatically called. So you'll have to have some mechanism, either a link or a button or something, to call that function. Right? So somewhere we'll have to
Oh,
call it. If we don't call it, then how will it happen?
no, even okay, that I got it. But here when we are calling it, we are not calling any, you know, just through the action we are calling that page here, is it? The function here.
Function we are calling, okay?
No, no. My question is, no, in the command button, can you just go to the Visualforce program?
Mhm.
Okay. So here we have mentioned that the value can be anything what we defined there, but here by giving the action through the action button, we are actually calling that function here, right?
Yes, right.
Okay.
So this action attribute has to have the name of the function that you want to call. Correct? So that's how
Mhm.
it's connected.
Oh, okay, okay, got it, got it. Okay, that was my doubt. Yeah.
So
Can you just show me the?
whatever
Okay.
you have named
Yeah.
the function, page reference function, you just need to call that here in the action.
Mhm. Okay, got it.
Correct?
Yeah, got it, Jeet.
Okay. So that's what I would want you to do now. I mean, that's what we want to discuss today. Now, I want you to go and create similar kind of page for opportunity. For all different stages, I want you to have a button on the page, and when you click on that button, only the opportunities from that particular stage should be displayed. Okay, that's what we need to do, right?